Good evening, Victoria Sullivan, 1056 South Beach Street. I and many other parents, teachers, and citizens came forward repeatedly bringing factual information regarding the failures of Common Core state standards, the abusive nature of all the assessment tests attached, and the intrusive, deceptive nature of the Smarter Balance tests. We did not recite a string of what ifs or fallacies. We brought cold, hard facts before this board that we were able to compile through the very negative experiences that other school districts around the country had experienced and documented. We brought them to you naively. We honestly thought that if we showed you how this was falling apart around the country, you would surely see reason and end this before it was too late for our children. Of course, it was all for naught. We spoke, but we were never heard, which begs the question, why? In these chambers, a board member asked Mr. Ryan if these standards would in any way hinder the teacher's ability to teach, to which Mr. Ryan replied, absolutely not. And yet, you have teachers coming before this board saying that the testing attached to these standards is so frequent that they have little time to teach. The tests are so upsetting to the children that the teachers are drying tears and talking them through anxiety, which is causing stomach aches. You have once again ignored those who have come forward and continued these abusive practices, and on top of it, you renewed Mr. Ryan's contract. Now Mr. Ryan is beginning his Assessments Are Great tour to convince parents that all these tears are worth it and to tell us to forget our children's anxiety because the district knows what's best. I'm not falling for it again, and I hope others won't either. They are dragging teachers into this dog and pony show. Enough is enough. This administration has repeatedly let us down, and although I have little time to speak to that issue this evening, hats off to committee members Dunphy, Langton, and Beaudry for putting our children first. Stepping down from the Conduct Committee sent a strong message heard by parents. To this board I say, you can lock as many doors as you want to, but until we identify and remove students who are dangerous to the student body, we are doing little to protect our children. Every parent should be asking questions about the district's movements in this matter. Back to why I'm here tonight. As we are once again being ignored, I have to believe that all of this comes down to the Smarter Balance testing. It's time this board got honest so we can save our kids' education. Engage parents truthfully, and let's fix this mess together. Once our children learn that school makes them sad and anxious, we kill their love of learning. Imagine that, anxious and sad in elementary school over tests. And I will tell you, I'm seeing it in my own kids.
30 seconds.
Do you think these children will be looking to further their education? I don't. My money says these kids mentally check out, and then how will you fare on your coveted tests? Thank you.
Deborah Olsta.
I didn't see her. Oh.
Good evening, Board. Deborah Olsta, 20 Warsaw Avenue. Now, last week I brought to your attention that students may refuse the Smarter Balance assessment. That's clear. Now I want to just bring you a little information about, is the test valid? The Smarter Balance assessment, if that's going to be the statewide assessment that New Hampshire uses, must be, according to state law, valid, appropriate, and objectively scored. The test is not valid, because when you go to the New Hampshire Department of Education, and you go to the FAQs, and you go down the bottom and it says, will Smarter Balance be a valid assessment? And it goes through a paragraph of blah, blah, blah. I can't read it, I only have 3 minutes. You can go there, the FAQs, and see that the test is not valid for New Hampshire in 2015. And then the other one, another topic that was brought up was, what are you going to do with the students who do, in fact, refuse the Smarter Balance assessment? You can't tell them to stay home, because that's against state law. The only thing they can stay home for is if they're sick. You cannot tell them to stay home if they're not going to do the assessment. And Smarter Balance has helped you make a policy, because in the Smarter Balance instructions to the test administrators, it says students who are not being tested and unauthorized staff must not be in the room where a test is being administered. Determine where to send these students during testing and prepare appropriate assignments for them as needed. Period, end of story. So you need to find substitutes for these students. And hopefully you will do that in advance of March. Set the substitutes up for March and April so that these students will be supervised and will not be hanging out in the hallways. And another thing is a legal notice. Smarter Balance gives a legal notice to test administrators and students and parents in that regard, that any breaches or any improprieties or any irregularities or any security items of problem at all that Smarter Balance determines
30 seconds.
could result in civil legal liability. And I know that there were students in Nashua in the field testing who were upset about the legal statement they had to say yes to. They had to say yes that they would not speak about the test to anyone, not even their parents. So if a parent asks them, well, how did you do? How was the test?
3 minutes.
How are you doing on the assessment? They were afraid to say a word to their parents. I think lawyers need to come and evaluate what's going on here, because students who are minors should not be checking off a box on a computer that says, I will not speak. Thank you. Have a good holiday.
That's all we have, Your Honor.
Anyone else wishing to speak?